The right person in the right seat can solve almost any issue. The wrong people in the wrong seat, they just make more issues. And a lot of people are like, how could you do that? So-and-so's worked here for 5 years. Well, be like, well, just imagine if this other person worked here the last 5 years. Like, that's my rebuttal. Can't be half pregnant. It's binary. You are not. And you can't be half committed. And once we have commitment, accountability happens naturally. If they're not committed, you can't hold somebody accountable. If you stand for everything, you stand for nothing.
Fresh insights into what it means to lead today. Whether you want more innovation more easily, you are feeling burnt out or overwhelmed, or you simply know that something isn't quite the way you know it can be, you are not alone. I hear the same from leaders every day. On Uncommon Leadership, we explore aligning personal fulfillment with business success, creating authentic teams, and cultivating the resilience, adaptability, and ease necessary to move beyond simply surviving today's challenges into thriving. I'm Michael Hunter with Uncommon Teams, and today we'll uncover fresh insights into what it means to lead in this unexpected world today. Joining me is Chris Hallberg. Chris is a seasoned expert entrepreneurial operating system implementer, one of Inc.com's top 50 leadership and management experts, and the founder of GoExpand, an agentic AI-powered business operating system platform. Chris's passion is to help other entrepreneurs achieve their vision by helping them get more of what they want from their business. He does this in part by combining his experience from 9 years in military and civilian police forces with everything he's learned about business to get high-performance teams to re-enlist every quarter via a simple, proven, holistic business operating system that keeps all the circles connected. Simple tools align and synchronize all the moving pieces of your business to produce the results you have always wanted. He helps you get everyone on the same page with where your organization is going and how you're getting there, bring greater discipline and accountability throughout your organization, and build a healthy leadership team who are more than just a group of leaders. Welcome, Chris.
It's great to be here, Michael. Thank you so much for having me on your program.
You are welcome. I am looking forward to this conversation. When did you first recognize that integrating your whole self and bringing that into everything that you do might be a valuable approach?
Ooh, a lesson in personal branding. When people hire the business sergeant, how I've branded myself for about a decade now, they're not hiring someone to tiptoe around their tulip field or maybe admire their issues. They're hiring someone to come in here and call the balls and strikes in a respectful but clear and decisive manner, and then present a process to move forward. So the business sergeant, and I wrote a book in 2017 called The Business Sergeant's Field Manual, Military-Grade Business Execution Without the Yelling and Push-Ups. So all the great stuff, because there's amazing leaders in the United States military, and there's some really good stuff that can pull over from the military to a civilian a business environment. But there's also a bunch of stuff that needs to stay right over there because that's exactly where it belongs. You'll be in HR a little much if you tape your lieutenant to a cannon and shoot it. Like, what's the civilian equivalent of that? A flagpole? I don't know, a box truck? Something's going to go wrong here. So we'll take that kind of stuff out, but we'll take the good stuff and put it in there. And then I created an online course for people that wanted to get to learn this military operating mindset. So, right, the like military, like we look at things a certain way, and we have all these acronyms and thought processes and decision-making matrix frameworks, and an acronym literally for everything. There are thousands of acronyms. So, coaching EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, work that I do quite a bit as a leadership team coach, right? Leadership teams learn EOS, and then they teach EOS to the rest of the company. Larger companies, I'll also work with their middle managers, but basically you can get EOS from like 1,000 implementers. There's like 1,000. I was like implementers like 60, 65 back in early 2014. So the community's grown a lot, but there's a lot of different flavors, right? The EOS you get is going to be the same, but the personality, the life experience, the business experience, the approach that is who you're choosing as an individual coach with the proven process. So it just made simple when people meet me and say, wow, you got a lot of energy. You are like really direct. Like, is everything a frontal assault? Do you ever do a flank? I'm like, nope, pretty much right up the middle. We run the ball because everybody knows what's happening. Once in a while, I'll do a fake and we'll throw a Hail Mary for a touchdown. But the thing about kind of attacking things head on, if you brand yourself the business sergeant and you have a really tough team and the owner has lost control, the inmates are now running the asylum, you're not hiring a Sunday school teacher to come get this under control. You're hiring someone that has seen a lot of stuff in a lot of different places, has that mentality plus 30 years of business experience solving these problems. So that's a very long answer to your question. But I started leaning into myself and being authentic, and the right people found me and said, you're exactly who we're looking for, versus me just trying to universally appeal to the entire market, no targets, just the market. And having calls with people saying like, yeah, I don't think your style is going to resonate well with our team. We're a little more into the feelings here and a little less into the accountability. So that might be hard. At the same time, some of those teams hire me because you're the opposite of who we're going to hire. And we actually think you're the person who's going to hold us accountable, like get this done. And because we wouldn't normally do this, we want something way outside our comfort zone, and just meeting you for an hour and a half, we're already outside of our comfort zone. We want to hire you. So instead of, so the people read my book, they'd be like, God, this guy's an idiot. I don't want to talk to him. Somebody reads my book and they say, your book's brilliant. Can I hire you? So that's the neat thing about kind of choosing and throwing it out there. The right people find it, the wrong people don't want it. And that is a beautiful thing, to be authentic to myself. So I have been loving life ever since I stopped trying to be someone else and just focused on being 100% Chris.
When did you make that switch, and what triggered you to, what suggested that making that switch might be really productive?
Yeah, I think competition. That's simple. I was the first EOS implementer in Colorado. I had the market to myself for a couple of years. Now we have over 40 in a second, third tier city. So there's a lot of choices here. And other than a headshot, you want to hire this face and a little bio. I wanted to explain who I was, where I came from, how I approach these issues. This is my experience. This is my belief system. And this is my unique approach to this wonderful system that you're going to get from anyone who's been trained to teach it. It's like a real estate agent, right? Like everybody goes to real estate school, and there are great realtors, and then there are okay realtors, and then there are brand new realtors that don't know anything about real estate. Same thing with anything, right? There's the different levels. And in EOS, we call it professional, certified, and expert. And that's a number of sessions, a criteria. But once my market, like, how do I further define who I am other than I was here first? I have more sessions. It's, well, let's just make it really easy for people. So it was in, I think 2015 or 2016 is when I made that decision, which was just a couple years into doing this, because I saw this EOS thing as this is going to grow pretty quick. And obviously it did. And because of that, you need to be memorable. I didn't want to be, a Century 21 agent with a tan blazer on in a photo of 300 people in tan blazers. And I don't know if those guys still even do that. I just remember that from my childhood, the blazer. But I want to be Chris Hallberg. I want to be the business sergeant. And I use EOS. EOS is a tool. It is a business plasma torch. But the finest tools in the world, not taught correctly, not held correctly, not done safely and in the right order, can do more harm. Meaning, if the rookie's got the plasma torch on the one column that supports the building, we're in the parking garage, this is going to end badly for everybody in the building and everyone in the parking garage. But if we have this beautiful saw or torch and we say, no, over there is where it goes, and let me show you how it works, that's kind of the thought there. So for people that needed a very direct, experienced person that can perhaps hold the room, use a bunch of humor, use all that experience to bring confidence. So a lot of what I do is, because I have this experience and I've seen the same thing so many times, I'm confident. I say, at this point, I have the data and I believe it strongly, like I'm 95% certain this is going on. And let me tell you why. And then I'll give them the data points, and then I'll give them some corollaries. And then I'll ask them, do you want to know how it ended in these 5 instances that are almost a carbon copy to the situation this team finds itself in? And when I give them all 5 experiences, they might make a different decision than if they had just said, flip a coin, use a dartboard, or our best guess. So really, I think it was a branding exercise, but it was also for me, because I think I did get in the session room with a few teams that didn't appreciate my sense of humor. And maybe I didn't appreciate their lack of action or accountability. And, when it's 10 o'clock, 10:30, we started at 9, and I want this more than they want this. Like, I'd rather be floating in my pool by 11 o'clock, or be fully engaged in the session. Like, I am all the way here or all the way somewhere else. I like to work in black and whites. Gray is a very difficult place for businesses and humans. So, personal branding helped get me into the black or the white and remove the gray that was causing complexity. All the color, none of the color. But I can scale black or white. I can't scale gray, and it's frustrating, and it might not even be a great experience for the client or me. So this is a lesson, and you could do that, but should you do that? Of all the things we do to spend our time, when you're showing up to a team that maybe doesn't appreciate you, or you're not really feeling them, like, they deserve better, I deserve better, right? There is a better fit for this team, and there is a better fit for me. And if we look at the word through the lens of scarcity, it's work. It's highly paid. It's a lot of money for one day, just to be clear. It's not a small amount. It's not a huge amount. There's an amazing ROI, but it's certainly not free. And if someone's going to make that commitment, they need to get a fantastic ROI, or that's not fair to them. And they, like I said, so everyone deserves to have what they want. But to your point, you have to make a decision to do this, because by saying I'm the business sergeant, a fairly good sized percentage of the business market said, yeah, we don't want a business sergeant. But like I said, the part that does are like, ooh, we can get a business sergeant. So like that is, it took me a while to kind of lean into that. And I'm really glad I did, because like I said, being authentic is a beautiful thing. I don't know what percentage of the people that work in our country get to do what they love with people they love, right? Or how many of them are trying to do the minimum amount necessary not to get fired, because that's what the TV shows about The Office say is going on.
Once you made that decision, this is the way I'm going to differentiate myself, is by just being me, and let the people who love that show up and everyone else run away screaming. How did you get past everything that had held you back from doing that up till that point? It's especially when you're banking your entire business strategy on people are going to want who I am.
Yeah. Well, I think if it was just 2 people in the market and you were able to talk to 2 people, I like that one. I like that one. It was simple. But when there's 25 people or 42 people, and you're looking at 42 names in a market, if it's local, I'm just reading the first 2 sentences of the hero section, the bio, because there's 43 to look at. Ex-military, did this, did that, sold the company, has this experience, has this approach. That sounds good. I like that. So like, people don't read your whole page, especially when they have 1,000 people to look at. So the thought was, how do I real quickly let everybody know this is what this guy's about? Chris Hallberg, known as the business sergeant. Like, right away, I've either got you or I don't. And yeah, I guess that did take a little courage, and perhaps it's cost me a deal or 2, but it's also, I can't remember the last time I got in a room with a team that didn't appreciate exactly who I am and what I bring to the table, and that I got to be me on a scale of 1 to 10, because like language, I got a Mormon team, 100%. We're on a 0. Like shucks could get me in trouble. And then I've got like a Marine and a bunch of Navy people, right, work in the automotive industry. So they're like, teach us some new profanity, Chris. Like, I want you to go deep into your experience and really paint with some of these words. So that's like a 10 or a 9 or something like that. My resting state is like a 3.5. Today we'll be on a 1. That's where I'm shooting for today. Unless you're like, Chris, give me some 5 and then we can go there. But my guess is this is better to be a 1. We could show this on primetime TV. That's a 1.
Sounds good. How did that feel as you were making the switch? You were pretty sure this was the way to go. You had a little evidence that people really liked the full-on Chris, and yet you had all the life before that showing you that lots of people didn't want the full-on Chris.
Yeah, well, it just turned out I'm Chris. So wrestling, like, it was just a decision. And I also mentioned, Michael, I could have easily just changed the copy. I have access to the copy on my website. I could have let it go a quarter or 4 and said, wow, things really slowed down. I don't think this is the right move. And I think things did maybe slow down. I don't know if they were related to that or other forces. But at the end of the day, if you stand for everything, you stand for nothing. So I think it was just kind of like, I'm in the room coaching people. You cannot be everything to everybody. So I think after a while, after you say it, 500 or 1,000 times to your clients, and you realize you're not living that truth yourself, and you realize that that's not really a something you want to participate in. So I think there were a lot of things going on, and like anything else, something comes to a head, and you just have to decide. And that was the decision I made, and I'm happy I did it. And I go to big EOS meetings with hundreds of implementers at a quarterly collaborative exchange, and hey, Sarge, hey, Chris, like no one's confused. No one thought that I worked in the Peace Corps. Everyone's pretty clear with my background. I mean, I worked at a super maximum security prison, 5 stories underground when I was 20 years of age. And let's just say, just standing there, you're listening to the sounds and the smells is enough to make a mark on you. So spending years in that environment, trips to the ER, and like, they don't pay you enough to do that job. So that's not something I wanted to do for 20 years and get a gold watch. Although if I did, I'd be retiring in 2 years. But so that would have been the upside there. That early 55 retirement would have been nice.
It sounds.
But I think the life expectancy is like 50, 59, if I could just add. So that was one of the reasons I had to get out of there, because you retire at 55 for a reason. Because the life expectancy, I think it was 59, because of the stress and the alcohol and drugs and marital stuff. And it's a really, really tough job. And it's a thankless job. And no one really appreciates corrections people, because you don't see them unless you're inside the fence, right? Or you have a loved one that is incarcerated, of course. But it's a rough deal. It's not a glamorous job by any stretch of the imagination. But if you wanted to learn about humans and different things that other people won't have access to, it will give you a tremendous repository of information in different contexts. So whether it was the military police and the Army, or the corrections service, or being a deputy sheriff, was my last posting as a law enforcement officer. Like, you see things, a part of society that other people might see on TV or have some ideas, but to like soak that up. I'm in a session room and there's a lot of conflict. We've got tears, we've got anger, we've got frustration. Could be a family-owned company, so we've got all those dynamics, right? All those childhood things and multi-generational businesses. It gets rough from time to time. And when everyone else is freaking out, and I'm just as cool as the other side of the pillow, watching what's going on. Hey, keep it healthy. Hey, where's that coming from? Like, we're not here to be hurtful. We're here to be helpful. So I need you to take a time out. You just, why don't you take a walk around the parking lot? You need 5 laps. Come back in 10 minutes. Not kidding. You'll feel great. We'll feel great. De-escalation techniques. And like, oh, I don't know if we want to have this conversation. Like, we're definitely having this conversation. How long have you been avoiding this conversation? Years. We're having it today. I don't know if we can solve it today, but we're going to do our best. And everyone's going to go home safely, and everyone's going to wake up tomorrow morning, and then we're going to be okay. So I think when things get chaotic or things get stressful and people are freaking out, I can give them a little perspective. Like, hey, you want to hear a story about a bad day at work? Right? You know, it involves things that are not on the table here. So just a little perspective. Just like when you ever meet somebody who's whining and complaining about this and that, and all of a sudden they get afflicted with a pretty serious health problem, and then you meet them, and like, hey, what about these other issues? So like, oh, I don't, like, they just push them away immediately. It doesn't mean anything. Didn't you hear I have stage 3, whatever? So, I mean, it's like that perspective. So I think if you are comfortable in those areas where those situations arrive, you can be helpful to the team, versus if the coach is getting wildly uncomfortable because they don't have a lot of experience with conflict, healthy conflict or the regular kind, then maybe you pass on it. So I use that as a why to pick me is I don't pass on many difficult conversations, because these edges are where the greatness lives in the teams. And oftentimes they make mountains out of molehills. And when I'm like, that's the issue? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 10, guys, I think you've made a 3 and 8. And let me give you some context here. And then we'll have some past stories, some other business stories. And really, your issue is just you lack the trust to enter the healthy conflict, right? Talk about Pat Lencioni's 5 dysfunctions of a team. And once we're able to have that conflict, healthy conflict, then we can get committed. And once we have commitment, accountability happens naturally. If they're not committed, you can't hold somebody accountable if they don't really care about it. You could suggest it, but there's no glue there. And then the last one on the triangle is the results. Everyone hires me because they want the results or the accountability. And what I have to explain to them is people can't be vulnerable. And because they can't be vulnerable, they're full of shit. You could say shit, I think, at 1.5. So, or edit it out if that's a 3 for you. So, if you're full of it, it's really hard to fix your issues when we're not willing to talk about the actual root issue. We just want to solve a symptom that's safe versus the actual issue that is charged politically somehow inside the company culture.
This is all starting to fit together for me. That when you were making the shift, it wasn't that you did or did not feel the feelings involved in, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? What if no one likes me and all of this? It's that at that point, you had already so much experience of feeling all the emotions and not being able to just deal with them right now in the, let's go inside and reflect and all this stuff. Because if you did that, you or someone else might experience serious harm. And so you had developed a strong ability to feel the emotions, keep moving with the job. Not that you were locking them away, but you knew that they would come out when you got home and it was safe to deal with things and you would take care of it then. And so when you were making the shift, this all just was built in automatic. It wasn't something that you were consciously doing anymore.
No, it's just, I think that's a great observation. You cannot, you can fake it till you make it, right? We've all heard that for decades. Fake it till you make it. And to some degree you can, but I think false confidence is thin. And people can pick up on it. And real confidence, when I say this is the issue you're so concerned about, I'm not trying to diminish them, but I am saying, like, if it really is a pedestrian type thing that they've ginned up to this larger thing, like, why? Like, I'll dig for a little longer and I'll find a much more serious issue. When was the last time you talked about this? We've never talked about this. Oh, great. So we're stepping over dollars to pick up nickels in the issue department. And I'll say some isms. So like these one-liners, I have like 1,500 one-liners. And I can't remember much of anything in life, but for some reason, I can remember one-liners that I've either created or stolen or a combination thereof. And that's another thing, humor is disarming. When someone does something and I have an ism for that and I give it to them and everyone laughs, I'm like, I've also self-effacing is also really good. Oh, you guys screwed this up? All right. So finish up the thing and then I'll tell the story. Your screw up was minor compared to how bad I screwed this thing up. So when you can be confident and you got all these scars all over the place, they realize the confidence comes because I failed before. And quite frankly, in the years where I was successful, those 7-figure years, you're not really a great learner. It's hard to tell someone who's crushing that they're doing it wrong. It's really hard to be coachable if you haven't had that experience and now you have that experience. And as entrepreneurs, we all have these. That's the roller coaster. It goes up, but it also goes down. And if you think it only goes up, you're really not going to enjoy the ride down. So I think that if you take all of these things together, you just have to say it, but not just say it. You got to feel it. They got to feel that conviction come across the bow, so to speak. And then when you give them some of that experience, they're like, all right, that's why this guy understands this, because he's obviously went through that whole arc, had to adjust 5 or 6 times, or this guy's been in the room for so many great companies just as a fly on the wall. Like, that's another thing. It's like, I've seen this issue 47 times. Do you want to learn how it's been solved? Like 80% this way, 20% this way. Like that experience, they're non-competitive teams. That's a really great thing about working with an experienced coach that's worked with a lot of different businesses and a lot of different areas in industries, because, hey, I know you're in a different industry, but you're kind of cousins or sister companies here. Like, there's a lot of corollaries. So did you ever think about putting this person on your leadership team? Because in this firm, that was the game changer, how we fixed all these issues. We just gave a voice. We provided representation. We just added someone to the leadership team because it was, well, I'll talk to so-and-so. I'll get back to you next week. Well, that started coming up enough where I was like, hey, guys, it sounds to me like you're missing some expertise. And the team is getting close to 100 employees is where I usually recommend bringing a leader on the leadership team. Oftentimes, teams under 100 they'll report to finance or operations or someone else. I mean, we're still going to have an HR function, but it might live somewhere else. But once we get to about 100 people and you don't have the head of people on the team, then things get really weird, because after 100 employees, it's not just a company, right? It's a staffing exercise. It's a resource allocation. It's complex. When you have 8 people, like, you got your sales, you got everything's the same. It's just everything is bigger, more complex, more opportunity to make money, but also a lot more opportunity to make mistakes. If your systems and training and operating system are up to par, the bigger they are, the harder they fall is a very real thing in business. So the complexity gets up there, and we got to have the people.
You said something that seems to me super key, which is that to steal a phrase from someone else, you feel the fear and do it anyway. And you don't just feel the fear, you let it fully inhabit you. And you transmute that into the utter confidence. And I'll bet that once you learned how to do this in your military and police and incarceration careers, that you were the favorite person on the cell block because everyone, your fellow guards, the leaders above you, the inmates, they all recognize that it's not that Chris is here to bully us around. It's not that Chris is here because he thinks he's better than ourselves. He is scared out of his wits with half the things that are going on, just like we all are. And he's not shoving that away. He's not acting out and shoving that on us. He's just eating that up and letting that fill him up. And then he is twisting that into this amazing leader.
Well, that's interesting. Maybe. Yeah, I think there could be some truth to that. However, I'm an acquired taste, and not everybody's acquired it, Michael. I'm sure of that. So maybe some of that, maybe not. But, I was fair, firm, and consistent. So I think respect is something that's earned. And it's one of those things, if there was ever a disturbance or a riot in a prison, there are officers who go out of their way to meddle. And when that happens, those are the ones they find. The people that shoot them straight and treat them with respect. And I'm not looking the other way. I'm not I'm not bringing in stuff like, definitely not any of that stuff. So people know who's a straight edge, and like you could just see the short haircut and the fitness and the military background and say, probably not going to corrupt. That one's not going to bring something in for you, right? That one is like a Boy Scout, like projecting all the rules, holds everybody accountable. But I was also 23 years old as a sergeant after, only being an officer for 3 or 4 years because of the timing and so like a cell block with, 23-year-old Chris with the stripes on and 4 or 5 officers in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. So being the boy sergeant was also a challenge because you have to earn that respect. And that all comes from that same aura. And I've led people twice my age for a long time, because I've shown them respect and I've earned it, quite frankly. You earn it. So back to fear, right? We talk about fear and courage are two different things. So fear, I heard this told this one way. I love this. So here's an ism. I don't know whose it is, but I'm stealing it. It's mine now. Fear is piss or peeing your pants. Fear is peeing your pants. Courage is doing, scary stuff with wet pants.
I like that.
That's what courage is. So just think about that, right? Like being fearful is wetting your pants. That like a really, really scary. We're going to be in a plane crash. It happens. Like we joke about it. It's in the movies, like in a comedic thing where the puddle just grows next to the shoe, right? The scared, the bully comes out. But the reality is, like, get next to a life and death incident, that might happen. It's on the menu. Now, what are we going to do? Go do the tough stuff with wet pants. And I don't remember who said that, but I thought that was a pretty awesome quote. So I like to share that with my teams. And they're not the same, but it's important to have the courage, because the courage is saying to the CEO, like, I get that. I get how you feel that way. And I understand how you're looking at it. Like but I see it differently. And I think your team sees it differently too. What do you think, team? And then I go first and disagree with the boss. And everyone's like, oh boy, he's challenging the CEO. But I do it in a way, I have a process, right? And I've also told the CEO, if you hire me and you're the problem, are you comfortable with me tactfully bringing that up? Like I might bring something up on a break. I might just say, hey, respectfully, let's look at some other options and we can come back to that. Now I just created an opening for the team that didn't have the courage to do that. I have the courage to do that. And then I create a space that wasn't there before. And then I facilitate. So when Mary says, well, maybe we could do a little better with this. Hey, Mary, do you have any data behind that? Yeah, it's 87% better. Hey, Mary, if I had 87%, I'd be like, boss, this is a no-brainer. Like you very gingerly put that out there. That is empirical data that's almost hard to mess with. So like, why don't we just say, excuse me, I have an alternative that provides an 87% increase. Are you interested in that? The answer would be yes. I would guess, 90, 95% of the time. But do you guys always do this? Like, there's like 3 layers of eggs on your floor. I'll say something like that. Look at all the eggshells. I guess you don't hear them when you walk. And again, you hired the business sergeant. Like, not everyone's going to call people out all day long. My point is, after I've called the team out 47 times with humor, but I'm directionally correct 42 of those 47 times, oh boy. I guess we got to get rid of all these excuses. He's heard all these excuses before, and we can't cash those checks at his bank. The bank of excuses is closed. And he says, listen, I will say something like, listen, I've seen this exact same issue, and what you're telling me is a very human thing. I totally get it. I see this all the time. Would you be interested in knowing how I helped other people get past this, just by maybe looking at things a little differently, or not accepting that as a reality or a fact, as you all just did? When so-and-so said this, that sounded like 100%. I think that's more like a 50-50. And let me give you some context to why I think that. And then after my 5 minutes of stretching their heads, they're like, okay, maybe we can do that. Well, if I wasn't there, that was a hot stove not to be touched. But since I push back because I see things a little differently, and I create an opening, and someone now has the courage because they got a wingman in me, then we can get it out on the table and discuss it. And maybe we don't do anything with it. Maybe we do. So it's pretty neat to come to a session. You haven't seen the folks for 90 days. And, when people show up really early to the session, because I'm a good half hour, 40 minutes before every session, that's the rules. Never been late for one of those and don't plan to be. And they come in and, hey, I just wanted to mention a few things before we get started today. I'm like, all right, there's some stuff that they need some courage. There's some fear in the room. And I'll say, well, do you want to just deal with this in the check-in, or this afternoon and when we discuss issues is fine? Or do you just want me to look for it? And thank you for bringing it to my attention. So if that pops up organically, I might say, hey, what's going on with that? And I might just ask some questions. And then sometimes we'll say, did Dave come early to tell you that? And I'll be like, yeah, he did actually. Dave, the ruse is up. Go ahead. Let's just do this conversation right here then. Or I'll start pinging and they'll be like, yeah, this is that. I'm like, and I'll dig a little deeper and I'll just use the vector they gave me, but I won't do exactly what they asked me to do, because I always understand that might be somewhat self-serving and not in the best interest of the organization. So I can't just take what people give me and approve and ram that through. But where there's smoke, there's fire. So just give me the zip code. Is it over there? Is it over there? Describe the problem. I will write it down. And if I find it, I'll do it that way, or we'll just tee it up. And I think it's important that you champion this issue, because you can't come to me privately and not participate in the issue. I will not do that. So if I'm going to write this down, I expect you to take some ownership in the discussion of the issue. So that's the deal that I make. Like, actually, I'm on thin ice with so-and-so, and I don't feel like I could say anything. And if I do, I might get fired. Then I'll say something like, listen, I've never seen anyone get fired, for the right thing. I've definitely seen some people get fired for 47 bad things right before doing the right thing. But I don't know if that's really the case. And if you're really concerned about that, that's something that I would get involved in as a coach, just to say, hey, oh, by the way, what's the rub here? Like what else is going on? It doesn't seem like the complete story. So that's the neat thing, when people know that you have the courage and an extra supply, a belt of it, where I can just open up my courage pouch and say, this is for you. That's how it happens in the beginning. And that's not healthy, because they should be able to do that on their own without me. But the truth is, most people, when they start an implementation, are not in that condition. So that takes several sessions, maybe a quarter or two, maybe a year, if they're a little hesitant to be vulnerable with each other. Because if we can't really be vulnerable, then we can't really speak the truth. And if we can't speak the truth, then again, we're working on fake issues, and the real ones will rear their ugly head. And then because we can't really get into that conflict. And since I'm ranting on conflict, if you don't mind, I would just talk about, we've all been taught for decades to not talk about religion and politics. Now we have a whole country that is incapable of having intelligent discussions about religion or politics, right? We're not in a good, happy place right now. So I think doing what's the right thing for the greater good of the organization, and that comes from the military, right? And the commitment that people have in the military is they sign their name, a contract for, I don't know, like 3 to 10 years, depending on what you're doing. In the civilian business world, people can walk in your office and say, I'm out of here. But in the military, they assign you soldiers, and not all of them are 10s out of 10s, right? Your job is to take a 4 and make them an 8. But in the civilian business world, you get to pick from 7 billion possible employees. So see, there's some dynamics there. But the commitment of the military, we don't have to wonder, like, did you want to be a Marine? Do you want to be a soldier? Well, I'm enlisted, I'm here. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, as a former MP, my job was to go grab people who actually didn't fulfill their commitment. And that's the accountability. But the corporate world isn't sending the operations director to your home to extract you. So I think if one of the big parts of the whole business sergeant mentality that I bring to people is you can't be half pregnant. It's binary. You are not. And you can't be half committed. You are all the way committed or you're none of the way committed. There really isn't a scale. I find that it is a yes or a no answer. Kinda will get you in trouble because that's that gray. Heck yeah, heck no, heck, right? Hell with flames. So that's like a Steve Chandler thing, right? We talk about Time Warrior, his book, where think about your personal life and come up with the crazy, hey, you want to go hang out with your mother-in-law for a whole week, just you and her. I'm going to put that in the no. Even though I love her, she's a wonderful woman, and I'd be happy to spend the afternoon and take her out to dinner, right? And she's probably the same way with me, right? Let's go ahead and spend some time together, but we're not going to go on a cruise for 2 weeks, right? We're not doing that. But if it's like, hey, you want to come over for the afternoon and help out and help her with problems that she can't solve herself? I'm like, hell yeah. Like, she's my mother. I love her and I love my wife. And I want to be a good husband and I want to be a good son-in-law. So I'm going to go do that. So my point is, I'm a hell yeah to that and a hell no to that. If I said, oh, well, I suppose I'll take your mom on a world cruise for 2 weeks, I would be in the middle circle, wishing I was in one of the 2 other circles. So I think about that commitment in the civilian business world. And if we have a vision, and the neat thing about an operating system like EOS is we really painstakingly spend 3 days creating the 5 foundational tools, the vision traction organizer, which is who we are, core values, core focus, why we do what we do, 10-year target, core target, 5 to 35-year big, hairy, audacious goal, North Star, marketing strategy, our 3 uniques, our target demographic, psychographic, and geographic, our 3-year picture, top line, bottom line, dream state, what does it look like? That's the front side, that's the vision side. Flip it around, traction side, once you have a beautiful 3-year picture, the 1-year plan makes itself. And then once we have a 1-year plan, the 4 quarterly rocks are your 4 kicks at the can of that reality. And then the last question on that is the long-term issues that keep us from success. So then we go to everyone sharing that 100% or going somewhere else. So that is the piece that is very militaristic. And when you can actually curate your team to about, 90% right people, right seats, right people share your core values, right seats in EOS get, want, and have the capacity to do the work. When like 90% of the people do that, they'll clear out the last 10% on their own. But my observation, Michael, is when 80% of the company, even as high as 80%, are the right people in the right seats, that 20% will keep the 80% from finding that next gear, like in every case. So most companies are engaged at about 35% of the humans actually like working there. My clients, over 100 have graduated, and right now I think it's just over 200 individual. I have some that have 10 or 12 awards each client, like So getting to 200 is not crazy when we have multiple winners, multiple awards annually. These are engagement surveys. An employee is not going to take an anonymous email from the Business Journal and say your company's great if there is a single thing wrong with it. So the only way to win these awards is to ride out of town all the people that don't like it here and replace them with people that do. So that's exactly what we do in a year or two. And at the end, the company is full of people who are crystal clear on why we're here. Back to that whole 8 questions shared by all, right people, right seat in the people component, the data component, the scorecards, the measurables, the 4th key component, the issues component, getting the issues list, long-term, short-term, solved, having a structured, identified discussion to solve versus just going right into the discussion. And then we have the process component, the 5th key component, documenting the 20% that give you the 80%, and then people following that, followed by all FBA. And then the 6th and final key component, Michael, is the traction component. And that's bringing that vision down to the ground and making it a reality. And we do that by creating a 90-day world with these rocks, these big priorities, these oftentimes strategic initiatives outside the day-to-day give us a new capacity, a new capability. And then we have a meeting pulse. So we're not having meetings about next week's meeting. We're just having minimal meetings with big commitments, lots of space to actually execute, not have other meetings. So I just described the 6 key components of EOS right there. So imagine all 6 of those components being 80, 90% strong. Well, your business is unstoppable when those 6 parts are abundantly clear. We have the right people in the right seats. We've got great process. That's how you win the Best Place to Work award at 94% engagement. There's a waiting list to work at your company. If you were to sell your company, you would get an extra multiple, maybe 3, because the acquiring authority isn't buying a company for a turnaround or adding their excellence. They're buying a world-class company, and they're probably not going to meddle with it all that much, or they're going to try to clone you to fix them. So the system provides safety. So once I say this is the system, and then I license everyone to say, if you ever see anything that goes against it, it is your obligation to say something. It's like security at the airport. You see something, you say something. And once I set up those militaristic rules around EOS, it works for me and it works for my clients, but it might not work for everybody. And that's okay. For the people that want that, they're going to contact me, and we're going to do that. For the people that want to do it in a different way, that's okay too. Wish them the best on their journey.
What is it that you do that opens the door and supports your clients to do all these changes when you're not around? It's really easy when Chris is there. Be like, yeah, of course we're going to do all this stuff in the EOS, and this all makes sense, and of course you're going to speak up and be vulnerable and all this stuff. And then Chris goes home, and the next day we have to do all this stuff, and we're back in all the old stuff.
Yeah, that's common, right? Anyone ever had their boss go to a conference for a couple of days and come back with some author's book and say, we're going to do this thing, and the team's like, no, we're really not going to do that thing. You think we're going to do that, team, but we're going to drag our feet for 3 or 4 weeks until you realize that we're not doing this thing, and then you're going to retreat with your tail between your legs. The real big thing that I do in our 90-minute meeting, which is kind of our fit meeting, am I a right fit for you? Are you a right fit for me? Is EOS the right thing for you? Right at the end of that 90-minute meeting, is EOS right for you, and am I right for you? And if EOS is right for you and I'm not, well, I'll just connect you with another implementer, and that's fine. Because there are so many choices. But back to, this is pre-qualifying who I'm going to work with. So I generally let a few things slip out, right? Some sharp language, some high energy. I give them a little taste of what it's like to work with me. And then I say, I find that if you're not 100% committed to this, you're going to get about half the results. So 94% committed, 50% of the 100% committed. So just want to be clear, as soon as I realize I want this for your team more than you want this for your team, I'm going to give you a conversation, and I'm going to say, you got to want this, not me. I can see it for you, and I can see this working, and I need you to do these things. So when I'm not around, clients do have access to their implementer between sessions, and the meter doesn't run. It's all part of the day fee and engagement that we have. So that's kind of a nice thing, knowing, we're not, billing at a crazy hourly thing and the meter's running and, I have a question, but I don't want to get billed. Like your attorney, right? ChatGTP. Let's throw it through chat, then we'll give the attorney the last hour, which is a common thing that we see now, that we realize that all the legal agreements are boilerplate things that we've been overcharged for decades. So I think the idea is to be very clear, understand what buy-in looks like, also understanding that it takes time. And so that leads me to my mantra, which is progress, not perfection. So as long as we're moving towards the light, let's keep it positive. Let's look back, smile. You've made that. Let's not just continue to look forward to the goal, because looking forward and worrying about the future is anxiety. Navy SEALs say you're borrowing pain from the future, which you don't need to. There's plenty right here for us all to enjoy today. So I think about that. And if I explain this is where people fail, my people generally don't fail because I'm real explicit at this part of the thing. I can get you to the end, but not if you're half committed. I need you 100% committed. And then during the journey, I'm going to uncover, the team will uncover people that aren't prepared, that don't see the gravity or the totality of their actions. And are you prepared for me to bring those out in a professional but very direct manner? And, that'll be the one warning shot, or that's what happens when you don't do your rocks, or you're not hitting your scorecard numbers, or you're giving excuses, or you're not living the core values, the things that'll get you in trouble with your coach. That is how we don't need a bunch of calls. Right? We all get our pinkies out. All right. I'll raise your pinkies in the air, wave them like you don't care. Let's go. Pinky swear. We're all in. Okay, we're good. So anyone doesn't, that's on you. So I'm a big commitment guy. And then the neat thing about I'll see you in 90 days is a lot of my clients, they're like, I didn't want to talk to you for 90 days. I can't wait to show you how cool this quarter is. They want to reveal. No, hey, you need to talk. Are we good? Bro, I didn't want to, wait till you see what we're cooking. You're going to be impressed. Ooh, I love those text messages between quarterly meetings with my clients. And some people, they need to talk once or twice between sessions, and other people, they don't want to talk at all. So the way I handle that, Michael, is I just say, hey, I'm not your parole officer. I'm not going to call and check on you all the time religiously. If I'm thinking about you, I might just send you a quick note from time to time, but it's not scheduled. I have a calendar link that's mine. I give it to them, and I say, if you can find the time, you can have it. If you can't find the time, send me a text message and we can have a phone call, because I'm in with clients that day, and I might get 5 minutes on a break. But if they know exactly what they need to do and they've agreed to do that, then we don't need a bunch of stuff. We'll actually let the quarter go. I'll come in, and then we'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. So it's actually important to let the bad things happen so everyone can see them, they can be named, and we can create a strategy to get away from that, because we've painted a very clear picture and then given a choice. Do we want to be bad, or we want to be good? We all agree. Well, we're going to live our core values. Our customers and our employees deserve the best. So isn't that the natural decision? Maybe, maybe not, but usually it is. So then we're choosing to be great when we do this. So that also means, conversely, when we do this other thing, we're clearly choosing to not be great. So we're going to measure that. And anyone who does that is going to get a reminder that we now do it this way. Until you become a habitual reminder person, then you'll just be removed. The right person, you might have to mention it once or twice, and then we're on the new system. So it's just, you got to give people a chance, but you also have to explain to them, well, let me be clear, if you don't do it this way, you can't work at the company. This is the proven process, and we're going to follow it. So I really need your compliance here, and I'd really like you to, understand why we do it and be fully engaged. And if you're like, whatever, you pay me, I'll do it that way. I wouldn't do it that way, but I'll do it that way. That's a red flag for me. And if someone applies without that red flag, I'm going to replace that individual with the more capable individual with the better attitude. And a lot of people are like, how could you do that? So-and-so's worked here for 5 years. Well, I'd be like, well, just imagine if this other person worked here the last 5 years. Like, that's my rebuttal. We maybe wouldn't be in the situation we're in by allowing that behavior to persist for 5 years. So back to that strength and immovable, this is what I do, and these are my universal truths that I operate on. Agree or disagree is up to you. I believe them, and you're paying me a fair amount of money to listen to these, so you should probably follow through on a few of those, right? Or all of them would be great, but we all know all of the ideas are never the right answer either. So, you know what I mean? There's a lot of horse trading that goes on. My job is just to stretch the minds to the far right and the far left in the hell yeah, hell no, and the hell circle. That's the one in the middle with the flames in it. So like going back to that Steve Chandler graphic from Time Warrior, I write it up there and I say, at the end of a couple of years, when you're ready to graduate, we're around 90%, employee engagement. I don't want to see anything in that middle circle. I want to see some stuff in the hell yeah and a bunch of stuff in the hell no and nothing in the hell circle. That means we did our work over our 2 or 3 year period, whatever it takes, depending on the size of the business. That's the after picture. So don't really care what your before picture looks like. Everybody's before picture is different, but your after picture looks kind of the same. And that's the standard that I coach to. And having, this wonderful process to follow, I have an 85% graduation rate, success rate, people that start that, get sessions and get traction. Whereas prior coaching without a methodology, the results were all over the spectrum. So that confidence comes from the system.
And that's, I think, the part of the answer to my question is that what you do is you show up fully Chris for a couple days, working with them nonstop, building out this framework that you come in, it's 90% complete, and then you're plugging in the customized bits for who they are, it's what you're building out with them. And then you disappear for a while, ready to support them if they want, leaving them to succeed less well, struggle, have all the things, come back in, see how things are going, redirect. And the reason this works is that, first of all, they've seen you do this, so they have greater confidence that if they show up as who they are, to the utter extreme that you do, that things are actually going to work out. And then they have a framework supporting them, so it's not just them trying to do this and also build out everything for the business at the same time. They can plug their expansion into themselves, into this process that you give them as framework, and let everything go to 11.
Yeah, like an amp on Spinal Tap. This one goes to 11, right? Like that is exactly right. And when the company is clear with who they are, and the employees are super clear what the mission is, and they're here for it, and you surround them with like-minded people who value what they value. And when, we talk about core values and value fits and inclusivity, right? This is the part where if you have a privately held company, follow employment law, treat people like gold, don't break the law, be a good human. These are universal rules for anywhere, right? These aren't specific rules for me or EOS or any of that. Those are just basic, no lying, no cheating, no stealing. I don't need any core values that talk about that. When people opt into something because you've created it, it's beautiful, it's rich, it's meaningful, it's impactful, it's inspiring, it develops people. We're better to be on the journey. It feels right. That's a wonderful existence for you to have that for 8 hours a day and then go have your beautiful family and then sleep well. Most people most companies are engaged at like 35, 40%. So that means like 60% of the companies going home, not saying nice things about their boss, not saying nice things about their day. And a third of their life isn't ideal. Life's short, brother. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. So this is where I would just say, listen, guys, life's too short for this, to feel this way. What if we fired 20% of the company in a year, and the middle 20 decided to come towards us or with them? And we had a hiring system using scientific, art, and science. We personality assessed all your top third, middle third, bottom third. We only interview replacements for people that have the wiring and the culture of our most successful people, because I have scientific assessments, I have tools inside of the operating system, I have a lot of things I can do to say, you have 20 of these 3 are clearly the best, and they all have the exact same archetype. They're all community builders, and they all have this background, and they all have these soft skills. So if you just want to have other unicorns and not any more burros, let's put the unicorn ad out. Let's not interview a single person that doesn't have the unicorn personality, because we're shorthanded. This person's great at interviewing because they've been fired 14 times in 5 years, so they got some experience. That's not who you want to hire, right? You want to hire the person who looks at your vision and you're like, are you kidding me? I get to do this for money? Like, okay, come here. That's what I want. Not, yeah, I suppose till something better comes along. Very transactional. Or corporate world, government service. One person says, I'm offended by that. No one else is offended. All right, so now the whole company has to stop because one person's been offended. Like, we don't have time for that. And privately held, entrepreneurial, closely held businesses, these are our core values. So let's talk about, they should repel the wrong people from your organization and attract, like a tractor beam, the right people to your organization. So like the reason why the unicorns don't stay at your company is because you're letting the unproductive, offended people, you're giving them space versus saying, wow, you don't seem to like it here. And doesn't look like your numbers are there. If you don't agree with the direction of the company, I think it's time for you to find a company that you agree with. And when everyone is in the room is curated because they've all agreed and they've opted into this thing, and we all have the same behaviors, man, that's fun to be surrounded. Now, you can have a diverse group. I don't care what you look like, who you like, where you're from. I'm not talking about that diversity. I'm talking about value diversity. We work 60 hours here, not 40 hours. Like, we go hard. We play together. We speak the truth. We're super direct. Like you think about the best core values, driven, committed. Like, your core values say the vibe of your tribe. This is that. If you are slow and gentle and soft, don't come to a fast, hard, and loud company and expect all of us to do what you want to do. We're explicit about that. So if that's your behavior, you're not getting in. And if you get in and start to behave that way, I will just say, look at our core values. Your statement violated our beliefs. So thanks for playing. Here's a copy of the home game. But you've pretty much told us that you're not one of us. And the things you said were hurtful and degraded what we're all here very proud working on. So congratulations, you've got a pink slip, and off you go. Here's whatever, and off we go. And a lot of times the team will work short, and many times we won't back hire that wrong person because the team is actually rowing faster, short an oar, but we're light, 200 pounds in the boat, right? So boats work on, thrust and weight, just like race cars and jet fighters too. And if that's not the case, we actually hire in someone that's like 42 times better. That person lands and everyone, oh my goodness, did you meet the new Dave? Yeah, he's like amazing. And then everyone starts thinking, geez, where am I in this? Like, maybe I should try harder. The neat thing about getting some really great operators showing up is that allows people to say, well, all right, maybe I need to raise my game. So then we get that leveling effect from the people that are in the middle. That middle third oftentimes rises once they have the correct context, or they're no longer watching a 5 out of 10 operator get away with stuff. Because if you're familiar with the bad apple effect, I think based on our conversation, I think this might be up your alley. The bad apple effect was a study they did some university a few years back. And it basically had all these studies where they had like 3 A players on a team, and then or 4 A players, and they take one away and replace them with a C player. Within minutes, the A players adopted the C player's behaviors, and not in one case did the C player adopt an A behavior. And they had like, I don't know, 1,000, like it was like, I looked at the data, it's, I put some of the stats in my course because I thought it was so powerful. And just one person on the team can keep you from feeling it. This is what gives me the strength. And when I say this is how we fix the companies, we pop a little hole in the bottom and we leak out the wrong people, then we tape it up and we only hire the wrong people to join the people still left in the vessel. And once that thing is full, we're only, as people naturally come out, like they are at that level or higher with the culture. And if over 2 or 3 years, we do that after the initial, ejection of the worst examples, because you just start with the worst examples until you get to the middle third, essentially. So if a 30-year company is going to voluntarily leave, or they're going to be voluntold to leave at our time and choosing, and I tell my clients, like, you really want to get this hopping? Yeah, I want this to be great. Okay, so let's not take 2 years to determine the wrong people. Give me 2 or 3 months. I'll help you with this. And I know a lot of great recruiters, and we'll get you some new people, and they won't have those defects. And when you solve the root issue, is the wrong person in the wrong seat, the right person in the right seat can solve almost any issue. The wrong people in the wrong seat, they just make more issues. They generate issues, and then they don't solve them. So then we get issue debt, and that's usually where it's time for somebody to go, or it's time to do something radically different at your business.
For people, Chris, who have enjoyed the conversation today and are full on, I want Chris for a thing, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Well, there's 3 places they can find me. I'm an entrepreneur, right? So my main gig, right, is a leadership team coach, EOS Implementer, Expert EOS Implementer. Then you go to just EOS Worldwide, Chris Hallberg. My website will pop right up. The second thing is my agentic AI software platform that's licensed by the EOS system, and that is GoExpand. So GoExpand.com. A great piece of technology to help get rid of a lot of subjectivity and replace it with some objectivity. Green is good, red is bad. Scatter plots up and to the right versus down and to the left. So really giving context between the individuals so we can be more fair in our ratings. And then lastly, Business Sergeant, bizsgt.com. That is a community for veterans. Some still in, some transitioning, some like me that have been out for 30 years. But it's a free community where I have an online academy, the Business Sergeants Academy, and then we have a community with several events during the week. And what we're doing is we're translating military experience and leadership into civilian leadership experience. We're taking them through the academy at no cost, and then ultimately placing them. So my partner, Michael Crisilla, just got out of the U.S. Army Special Forces, 22 years in the Special Forces. He was Chief Warrant Officer 3, kind of a Jedi Knight of Green Berets. He was a medic and just an amazing human, Silver Star, Purple Heart, the real deal. And he has access to a bunch of special operators because he was an instructor and is well respected in that community. So like, you want to fix the culture in your warehouse? Put a Green Beret in there, and within a month, that halo effect of amazing. Like it's amazing what these humans. So if the government spent $10 million training somebody, right? So the whole thing with the business sergeant, whether they're special ops or just a regular vet, I was an MP. Vets are resourceful, right? They're accountable, they're hardworking, they're in it to win it, they're committed. So rather than finding people that have this exact experience to lead people at your company, our whole methodology is, why don't you just get a leader that is a 1 in 1,000 leader and train them to do what you do? Our people can learn what your business does in a quarter or two. Your very best leader could not pass the first weekend of our guys, 20 some year, amazing career. So we get to help veterans and we get them amazing positions that they deserve. And our veteran-friendly clients that hire our veterans and special operations veterans get people that not only have all this amazing experience, they have us. So even after we place them, we support them. And one of the days of the week that we have programming is Wellness Wednesdays. And 22 veteran suicides a day is 22 too many, Michael. So a big part of what we do is wellness and mental health, and talking about things and PTSD and TBIs and bringing in outside experts. So all these big, tough, tattooed, muscly guys get a little weepy sometimes, and that's okay. And maybe 20 years ago that wasn't okay, but it is okay. So we're leaning into the holistic health and providing opportunity. So those are the three things that I'm working on. And then the last thing I would say, Michael, is love a LinkedIn connection from anyone. Love to LinkedIn connect with you. I put all the content. I'm going to put this interview there as well. So LinkedIn would be great.
Sounds great. We'll have all those links in our show notes. Thank you, Chris, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me on your program, Michael. It was my pleasure.
You're welcome, Chris. And thank you, audience, for joining us today as well. Chris and I would love to know, how are you showing up a little bit more 100% yourself today? Thanks, and have a great day.